Welcome back, everybody. My name's Tank, and today we're going to do another edition of Ask a Roadie, where I, a roadie, sit and just answer the questions that you guys put on the YouTube community page. Now, I assume most everybody that's here follows the channel along. You guys already know me, my background. Just in case there's anybody coming across my channel for the first time, my qualifications for being a roadie: I've been touring for 15 years. I've worked for bands from clubs to stadium tours, done everything from guitar, bass, and drum teching to merchandise, pyro, lighting, tour management, all that stuff. And what we're going to do here is just answer people's questions. Now, mostly it's tour related stuff, but sometimes random things come up. I haven't looked at any of these yet, so I'm just going to fire it up here and we're going to go down the list and see what happens. And it's always funny with YouTube videos, man. Everybody probably thinks we put a lot of thought into these. Nah, man, not this one. We just put our daughter down to sleep. I'm just sitting down at the computer, nothing fancy in my chair. I got baby stains on my sweater, but let's go. First question. What has been your most surprising band you've reacted to? As in, what band you were not expecting to enjoy, but turns out you really enjoy? Man, I've done so many reactions at this point, but I honestly think I would still give that one to Nightwish, just because what I was told about them before I actually sat down and listened to their music. Like, I totally in my mind had a different preconceived notion of what that band was. And if you would tell me now how much I enjoy their music and how much I've gotten into it compared to what I thought about them before I listened to their music, would have never believed it. So I'd probably say that's the one that's made the biggest impact compared to what I thought I was going to enjoy or not enjoy. What does your upcoming schedule look like as far as touring goes with Electric Callboy? No fucking idea. When did you discover your passion for music? And when did you know you were going to make it your livelihood? I don't know an exact time, but I was very young because I grew up in a household where, I grew up with my dad and he was really big into music. I mean, there was always music playing. He was taking me to concerts at a very, very young age. My first concert was Ringo Starr, followed by Meatloaf, like pretty cool bands to see for the first time. But, and honestly, I think it's everybody's dream to want to make it a music for the people that like music and want to be in a band and stuff. But I didn't really realize, like, for sure that it could be my livelihood until probably my 20s, because when you're in a band and you're young, everybody thinks that they can get signed and their band's good and stuff like that. And sometimes those expectations are a little unrealistic, and that's why I pivoted to being a roadie. And in fact, I like working for bands more than I ever enjoyed being in a band, to be 100% honest. But it probably was like my second or third year of being a roadie that I was like, I could make a career out of this. Like, this can pay the bills and I can do this full time and not have to worry about anything else. Are there bands that you won't react to based on your relationship with other bands? No, I'm not going to hold anything against a band based on my relationship with another band. Like, for example, I know both the guys from Electric Callboy pretty well and their former singer, Sebastian, Ghost Kid, as most people know him. I know both of them and I talk to both of them and I react to both of their music. Like, I'm not going to totally discard Ghost Kid stuff because I also know Electric Callboy, or the other way around. Now, there are some situations where there are things that have happened off the stage for bands that have made it kind of weird for me to want to react to, or I've heard bands say certain things or do certain things, but it's never been based off my relationship with another band that I won't react to another artist or band. With all your experience thus far with touring and meeting incredible musicians and humans that people would get starstruck over, how in the hell do you remain so humble and down to earth? Probably just an awesome personality trait. Okay, I appreciate that a ton. It's probably not that humble that I'm going to be answering this on camera because that was such a compliment, but I don't know if I would consider myself that humble of a person, to be honest. I mean, maybe I'm my own or my biggest critic, but I definitely feel like I have my moments of, I don't know if I would say as strong as arrogance, but like, we all fall into those traps where we name drop or we talk about ourselves too much and stuff like that. And even in this question, like you said, most people would get starstruck over. I've gotten starstruck over people that I met. I mean, it does start getting easier the more you tour. You learn that people are just people and it doesn't really matter. But I don't know, man. like I said, I really appreciate this comment. I feel as though it's a very, very good compliment, and I thank you for it. But I try to be humble, but I still feel like I fail at times. What behaviors make an awesome / average / poor crowd, and how does the crowd impact the show? I mean, you know, crowds are different no matter where you go. And the second part of this question was, do crowds vary more by night and by city or country? I'd say it varies more by city and country. There are cities that when we're on tour, we know that it's usually going to be a good crowd, especially countries too. Nights of the week, it doesn't really matter. It's just, it all depends on that frame of mind of the crowd. Are they ready to have a good time or not? And, you know, the first question here, like what behaviors make a good or bad crowd and stuff like that, it's all just dependent on how the artist is going to take it. Now, your stereotypical stuff like people fighting in the crowd or throwing things or screaming in between songs at the band and smaller venues and stuff like that. Obviously, that's annoying, but it's like every band wants to have a crowd go nuts and cheer and sing along and stuff. And there are times where that doesn't happen, but crowds can still be a good crowd even if the energy isn't 100% there. But it does impact the show, man. I mean, I've worked for enough bands to see like you can tell if the band is feeling it or not, if they're bummed out that the crowd, they aren't getting the reception that they thought they would or something like that. So the crowd can absolutely change the course of the show in terms of the mentality for the artist on the stage. Have you had any experience with events that include orchestra or acoustic instruments? How difficult may that be to be sound tech or sound stuff in this kind of gig? So orchestration type stuff, no, I've never done any tours where we've had like a full orchestra. I have done some tours where we've had what would be considered orchestral instruments, but usually only one or two players doing something. I've been on tours where we've had a harp player or cello or violin or something like that. And the funny thing is that a lot of those players don't get techs. Like, you know, I couldn't tech any of those instruments, and I don't really know a lot of people that could personally. So a lot of those players end up teching their own stuff on tour. And, you know, I'm not a sound guy, so I don't know how difficult it would be to adjust to that, but sound to sound, I mean, most audio engineers I know, even in the rock world, could probably handle orchestrations like no problem. But acoustic instruments all the time, especially in country. I mean, I had like 5 or 6 acoustic guitars that I had to work on every single day. And that varies, man. Acoustics are made of different kind of wood, and there's different pickups and there's different electronics that we use. So you got to kind of be familiar with a lot of different kind of things in that certain area. How does a band plan their set list for a show? This is one of those things that varies as well. You know, if a band is playing a one-off, which is just one show that's not part of a tour, they might just sit down before the show and be like, okay, what are we going to have fun with tonight? What are we going to play tonight that's going to be fun for us and fun for the crowd? Most tours that are going out, you know, you might not see the same exact set list every night, but the structure and the meat of the set list is going to be pretty much the same every single night. Like when bands rehearse for tours, they're rehearsing a performance, and that performance is those songs in that set list. So you might have a couple songs in a set that are interchangeable for the band, where depending on what market they're in, they might play something that was more popular in that area than another song. But for the most part, once a band locks in their set list at their rehearsals for a tour, it pretty much stays consistent. But factors like the market that they're in, like we've done tours where we show up to a city where the band is like, hey, we should play this song tonight in the set that hasn't been there because this was a really big song in this radio market. And they'll take out a song and put in another one or something like that. Or depending on country, that band might have had a song that was bigger in Europe than it was in North America, and they'll switch that out too. But for a lot of bands, they're going to be playing what they know the crowd wants to hear and not necessarily what they feel like playing. What is the biggest challenge that comes with being a roadie and touring with bands? Honestly, it's personalities. It's getting along with the people that you're on the road with for a super long time. It's adjusting to those personalities. It's learning the artist and the band that you're working for. It's learning their quirks and how they are. Like, it's a lot of personal adjustment, I would say, way more than actual gear adjustment, because, you know, you go on different tours, and while you might have different branded instruments and gear, it's still gear. You're used to working on that. But if you're on a different tour, you're going to have to learn a whole new set of personalities. What is your go-to band for introducing someone to heavy metal, like a gateway band of sorts? To be honest, for the longest time, Nine Inch Nails was a good gateway band to get people into because you've got a good bit of everything. You've got very pretty piano parts mixed with electronics, then you've got your more aggressive songs. Nowadays, if we're talking about like metalcore and stuff, I actually show a lot of people Electric Callboy because while they are heavy, it's fun. And there's a lot of electronic elements in it. Like a lot of my friends that are into EDM that don't get into metal, I could show them Electric Callboy and they pretty much get into that. What was the most shocking thing that you have seen on tour with bands that you've worked with over the years? I don't know. Some of it I probably couldn't say because of contract or non-disclosures. Non-disclosure agreements. Jesus. It's late, sorry. But nothing's jumping to mind, so must not be anything that crazy. Just wondering your feelings on these stadium tours after COVID and the prices they're charging for tickets. Mostly talking about the recent Blink-182 presale, first row stadium presale price $325 and even crazier closer. Is this the bands or Ticketmaster? It's fucking Ticketmaster. The bands aren't sitting down and going, we're going to charge $500 for tickets for our fans. No. These ticket prices, blame Ticketmaster for that shit because no band is sitting down and discussing these prices and thinking that this is a good idea. What pop artist would I like to see live? Would I most like to see live? I want to go see Lizzo right now. I would pay money to go see a Lizzo show right now. How many of the songs or bands that you react to end up in your playlist? Probably 90% of them. Do you think it'd be possible to try to write songs for country music artists and manage to do so while not living or operating out of Nashville, Tennessee? Yeah, tons of people do it. What is my favorite thing to bring on tour that helps me unwind? Nintendo Switch. Who was, dead or still living, the most uncomfortable, creepiest, or terrifying band member you've ever encountered? You know, over the years, I gotta be honest, I don't know if I've ever been on tours with anybody that like legitimately weirded me out or was terrifying or creepy. Now, there were people that before I started tours, I thought were gonna be really weird or creepy or something, but they ended up being awesome people. Like, you know, before I got on the Van Halen tour, everybody told me that David Lee Roth was like a crazy asshole, but every interaction I had with him on that tour, which wasn't many, it was like 4 or 5 times that I actually talked to him, he was super nice every single time. Same thing when I toured with Faith No More. I just assumed from seeing Faith No More, like growing up, that they were going to be absolute weirdos. Totally not. They're awesome, just down to earth, really nice people. And then I also remember, we had Napalm Death on an opening tour that I was on once, and I thought they were going to be crazy, and they were the exact opposite. They were really, really quiet, laid-back guys, really friendly and nice. And I remember like 12 years ago when we were doing festivals, we were on a bunch of festivals with Five Finger Death Punch, and I used to see the way that they were on stage and just assumed that Ivan, their lead singer, was just a crazy lunatic. And I've heard stories about Ivan and stuff like that, but my experience being around him was completely different. He was actually a super, super nice guy. So these were like cool moments where they were artists that I thought were going to be crazy or weird or terrifying, but they were actually really cool people. Has becoming sober removed some of the camaraderie aspect from being on the road? Do you find yourself not hanging out with the group as much? Or are you just the sober dude, maybe the designated driver? Or do you seek out other sober people to hang with? Has it made downtime rougher? I feel like nothing's changed, to be 100% honest. Like, yeah, I'm not going out and going crazy until, 2 or 3 a.m. with the guys anymore. But like, I will still hang out with all my friends that are drinking. No problem. It doesn't bother me. I just won't drink. And the designated driver part, I mean, when we're on tour, we're not driving, on bus tours, we have a bus driver, and then if we go on a day off, we don't have personal vehicles, so we're always Ubering and stuff anyways. But and to be honest, yeah, I do. I have a handful of close sober friends that I talk to daily, and if I ever am in a situation on the road where I feel uncomfortable or something, I know I can call and talk to one of them. But that doesn't really happen, man. I'm comfortable with me not drinking and me being sober, and I have no problem hanging out with the other crew guys that are drinking. Have I ever gotten the chance to play on stage during a show, like if one of the band members goes sick or something? Me personally, no, I haven't. I've never filled in for a band member or anything like that. I do a lot of sound checks. Like if a band member doesn't show up to sound check, I'll do that. But I've never filled in at an actual show playing an instrument. I have had friends that have, and I've been on tours where that's happened. I was teching on a tour where one of our other players on stage got sick and had to go home, so his tech filled in for him, but I've never done that. Have I ever been on tour and felt disrespected or disrespect by the band or band member? Yeah, absolutely. Not a lot. And a lot of that is honestly probably ego. It's probably, or like my ego is what I mean. It's probably, maybe I feel like they didn't give me enough respect or they said something I didn't like or anything like that. I don't know if I've ever been in a situation where somebody has like straight up intentionally been disrespectful or treated me like shit, but it happens, man. We have disagreements with other crew people, and sometimes bands, crews don't get along. I mean, we've been on tours where there are people in other bands' camps that I just don't get along with, and you know, that's fine. That's part of the job, man. We're there to do a job, and you don't have to enjoy everybody like any other job. You just need to learn how to work with them. This is kind of a related question from a different person. How do you proceed when you have to work with a band whose members don't show consideration for you or ignore you? Shit happens, man. It does. There's a lot of egos in the music industry, and you know, the show must go on, man. I'm getting paid to do a job. I'm getting paid to work on instruments and make sure they work for that person that I'm teching for. If they don't want to acknowledge me, if all they want me to do is hand them the instrument, let them play, that's cool, man. That's their thing. Like I said, I just, you know, I need to focus on what I'm there to do, and everything else is just whatever. What would your profession be in case you had not become a roadie? To be honest, I have no idea, man, because like even right now, I talked to my wife about this. It's like, if I had nothing to do in the music industry, like if I wasn't touring or anything like that, like I have no idea what I would do. I mean, I kind of just fell into this YouTube thing over the pandemic, but like if the pandemic never happened, but I stopped being a roadie, I have no idea what I would have done. I did go to college to become a teacher though. That's kind of interesting to think about. What kind of lawnmower do you have? Man, I got that Yard Machines 21-inch push mower with a 140cc Briggs & Stratton motor. And I think we'll wrap this one up there. There were some more questions. I apologize to anybody that left one that I didn't get to, but I have been filming for a little bit and I got to cut this up and stuff, but we'll do more of these, man. I honestly, sometimes when I don't feel like doing real content that I have to put time into, I enjoy this. I enjoy just answering questions, and, you know, you guys can get to know a little more about me, and maybe one of these days I'll just ask you guys questions and I get to know a little bit more about you. But until then, thank you guys again for your questions, and thank you guys for watching. God, I never know how to wrap these videos up because I assume that most people that are watching this already are up with the channel. But if you're not, join us on Discord. Join us on Twitch. I'm on Discord a lot. I stream on Twitch often. Links are in the video description. I'm also on a bunch of social media. My handle on pretty much everything is @TankTheTech, and links for all that are below as well. But until next time, thank you once again, wherever you are in the world. Be safe, be kind to each other, and I'll be back very soon.